It's back to school season and Clorox is donating 2 million disinfecting wipes to classrooms across America. Because back to school means things can get a little bit messy. Just ask second grade teacher Mr. Torres.
Put me and just one Clorox wipe on a team? We can take on crayon smudges, sticky fingerprints on every surface, sneezes on the door handle, juice box explosion by the sink, snack crumbs, and don't even get me started on the bathroom passes.
Clorox disinfecting wipes. Teacher's #1 wipe.
Think about it. Bathroom passes.
Clean feels good. Based on unit sales data.
United Healthcare nurse Crystal checked in on a patient.
We do a routine call after surgery, and I could tell in her voice that she was struggling.
Crystal knew she needed help.
And I knew that this is very serious. This is like septic. This is life-threatening.
And she knew just what to do.
And I called the hospital and said, she's coming in. Here are her labs.
And got her the help she needed.
I see my role at United Healthcare as a life-saving role.
Hear more stories like Crystal's at uhc.com. Benefits, features, and/or devices vary by plan area. Limitation and exclusions apply.
This show is part of the Head Stuff Podcast Network. Hello everyone and welcome back to the G-Spot. Today I am joined by the lovely Jean Young. Jean is a psychotherapist. I absolutely love her vibe. I connected with her initially on Instagram, which I would definitely recommend you have a follow. She is a really knowledgeable, loads of great insights, but she's also a very warm person. Like she just kind of exudes warmth and comfort and it just feels like she's on your side, like she has your back. Her Instagram is Jean Your Best Self. And in this episode, we talked about all different bits as usual, but particularly she gave some really great insights into communicating about sex, about what men and women tend to get wrong the most about sex, and just how to have, I suppose, better conversations and communicate more effectively, which is something I think we could all work on because as someone who's been a sex educator for nearly 10 years now, I can say 100% communication is probably the one struggle or the one area that comes up again and again and again with people of all ages, all relationship situations, no matter what sexual issue they're facing. There's usually also an issue with communication happening. So really, really, really valuable insights in this episode. So as always, give us a 5-star rating. Of course, leave us a gorgeous review, subscribe for your bonus bits, and enjoy the episode. Welcome back, everyone. Today I am joined by psychotherapist Jean Young. So welcome to the G-Spot, Jean.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so delighted to be here.
No, I'm delighted you came up all the way from Cork as well.
But that's a treat for me.
Yeah. You were saying you love your time in the car.
Oh, yeah, because I have 2 kids, so 7 and 5. So if I'm in the car, I'm usually listening to shite music. So it's lovely to be like, I'm going to listen to my own music and my own podcast, have snacks and not have to share them. And it's actually just blissful because it's 2.5 hour drives. That's 5 hours of quiet and peace.
Yeah.
So I'm big about that. Yeah.
It's funny the things you appreciate, depending on what's going on in life. Because for me at the moment, driving is it's fine. You get a podcast on, grand. But I definitely don't see it as a treat. For me, it's the hardest part. As in of a work day is getting somewhere. And then I'm
I guess it's context of life, isn't it?
Oh,
How it
100%.
changes things. Because I love getting my eyebrows waxed now too because I get to close my eyes for a little while.
That's so funny. But you can't fall asleep when you're getting waxed. Then you'd have to be next level of relaxed.
Yeah.
But
It's just a nice little chill time, nice little break for a while,
Yeah, a little bit of me time. Love that. So did you you're a psychotherapist, obviously, so we'll get to kind of, I suppose, what led you to that essentially. But did you get sex education when you were younger?
I always think about this because I was listening to your other podcast and I was like,
I always
Did
ask.
I? And I feel like there may have been something in 6th class, but obviously such a non-event that I don't remember it.
Exactly, yeah.
And I more remember my best friend being about 10 and getting a book left on her bed.
Oh my God, this always happens.
Yeah. And then 2 of us being like, oh, and reading it. But it was only all about female anatomy and what was going to happen that way. Nothing about actual sex. It was all about periods and having a baby. But nothing actually about the male counterpart. Nothing of that.
Yeah.
And I do remember them being in secondary school, maybe in about like second year, I think, and them separating the boys and girls. And it's all going to 2 separate talks. And ours was all about periods. And all I remember is all the boys taking the packs off us afterwards and sticking sanitary pads to everyone's back.
Gorgeous.
That's about the extent. There was nothing about like sex. There was nothing about pleasure. I think there may have been a small aspect of kind of like condoms.
Okay.
But like, again, not like how to access them, not how to put them on. Just this is it. This is what you use.
They exist.
Yeah, that's about it. Not much else. I was trying to think about like where else did I kind of like learn about stuff?
How did you learn? Because, you know, we get educated so many different ways. It's not just the formal education. That's only a piece of it. Like, what were you consuming at that time? Even thinking of culture around magazines or TV or media.
I remember the internet being invented.
Right.
I'm that age. So like I remember us going on and like being on the internet when pop-ups would just come up.
Oh,
and like boobs. I'd be like, oh, where did this come
in your area?
And like and loads of adults panicking around you. But like I think it was that. I think it was friends talking, TV. I remember going on a sleepover and we didn't have, what was it, multi-channel. We didn't have multi-channel. So this was like a complete novelty. And at the sleepover, they were all like, oh, wait until midnight or wait until 1. And I was like, what happens? And things like Eurotrash coming on. And like all those TV shows where you got to see boobs and people talking about sex and stuff like that. So, but that was kind of it. Like I remember having lots of questions in my head. Of course, I would never have dreamed of asking them. But growing up around pubic hair.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was like, okay, I understand how the girls' ones grows, but how does the boys?
Right.
Like how far does it grow? Yeah. Where does it grow? I'm being so terrified then for like that area of life of kind of like, I need to know what I'm walking into here.
Yeah.
I'm being so confused by it.
It's funny the things like we can really zone in on, like different people zone in on different things about puberty. I remember, it's funny with pubic hair, I feel like, and obviously this is just a lack of memory, but I feel like I didn't have it and then one day I fully had, like it was everywhere. Like I can't remember it starting to appear. Yeah. I just remember suddenly like, oh, like I have a bush, like, you know, like it's fully there.
Yeah. That's such a good point.
And being like, what? Yeah, that was something I was also quite concerned about during those years, being like, is everyone else's like this? What do I do with it?
Because it's not in any of the diagrams. All the diagrams have no pubic hair.
No pubic hair at all.
Yeah, so you don't even know where it's going to grow. Like where is normal, where is not normal. So you're kind of left questioning an awful lot around that, I think.
Yeah. Because some women, like some people can grow, like it can really extend like up the stomach or down the thighs, whatever. Actually, that was one thing I insisted on when we were designing the illustrations for my book. Kira Coogan's the illustrator. She's amazing and very patient with me because I was like, and we need this and we need that. And I was like, we need to have some hair there. Like, you know, on the standard vulva diagram, just on even on the top, like or the sides, like so you can still see what you're trying to label. But do you know, just normalize it.
Yeah, because I think that was something that I found very confusing because even though it's not like a big issue, it was still a question. And I was like, who do I even ask about this? Because if I asked my fellow peers, like in classmates, they'd probably all start laughing. Yeah. Because I remember pubes were like the thing like, oh, like he doesn't even have pubes, she doesn't have pubes. And I was like, what the fuck are pubes? And where do they go? Yeah, do you know, in question? Because I remember learning about pubes from Wayne's World. Oh. It was a scene in Wayne's World and I remember they said something about pubes and I turned around to my brothers and sister and I was like, what's pubes? And they were all like, oh, like nothing. And I was like, well, it's clearly something, you know.
It's something provocative that they're screaming like that. It's something exciting. Okay, so then moving into kind of, I suppose, your teen years and early adulthood, did you go straight into psychotherapy or psychology? Or
No, so you usually have to be, well, I think from all that I know, you do have to be an adult student to go into psychotherapy. So I think you have to be at least 23 to study.
Okay.
From my memory anyway, it might be changed by now. But I went in originally to study social care.
Okay,
so I studied that, went to work in kind of that industry, did a couple of different jobs. Some of them I loved, some of them I hated. But I always kind of came back to the kind of therapeutic piece of it that I would love and found that kind of, it's nice to do a job that you feel like you're good at. Yeah. And I kept kind of being pulled to jobs that kind of had a therapeutic element, but then I had other bits that I hated. Yeah. And I was kind of like, okay, like, and then I personally had been in therapy since I was 19.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, I quite like this. I remember saying to my own therapist, I was like, I'm thinking. And she was like, absolutely, go do it. Absolutely, go do it. And I was like, really? And she was like, yes, go do it. So I went and I studied then. And yeah, then was just kind of still working in Bernardo's Children's Bereavement Service for a long time there.
Okay.
I loved that.
Yeah,
that was where
yeah.
I put an awful lot of my like growing as a therapist into, because the team there are amazing. If anybody's working in social care and they're looking for a company to work for or a charity, I will do anything in my life for them, because they're just such a beautiful company to work for. But it came to a point there where I wanted to have my own kind of clinic as well. And it was just like, I was working part-time there, trying to set up my own place. I also had kids and I was like, oh my God, this is so intense. And then my first day back from maternity leave was the first day of lockdown. So I was like, I can't, this is so much. So I did that for about a year of trying to work everything. And I was like, I am so burnt out and so tired. So I decided, no, I'm just going to have a really sad but bittersweet ending with Bernardo's and go do my own thing. But they're also so supportive, all the team that I worked with there. So they're amazing.
That's so nice that you had that good experience.
Yes.
Because often when we look back at kind of older jobs, sometimes it's with a different lens where it's like, oh, actually I really wasn't treated well there. So it's nice that it was positive.
I think it's similar to probably relationships. It's really hard to leave a relationship where nothing is wrong, but it's not quite right.
Oh, that's such a good way of putting it. Yeah. It's just not quite there. It's not quite fitting. Yeah. You have an Instagram page as well, and like social media presence, and it's at Jean Your Best Self.
That's it.
Yes. So for anyone looking, look that up. So I know on your Instagram, like you talk, I feel like you cover a lot of different topics, like got to do with like psychology and like I've seen you talk about the idea of imposter syndrome and things around confidence and different things. But you've definitely touched on sex a bit, right? Like it's something you're maybe talking more about.
I think I'm kind of passionate about it because I don't think we talk about it enough.
Yeah.
Like I run a women's personal development program, and there's a section in it where people can ask anonymous questions, and somebody popped it in and half of the people that were there were like, oh my God, yes, let's talk. And the other half were like, oh my God, I need to turn my camera off. My face is going red. And I was like, this is a conversation that needs to happen, because there's nothing wrong with having these conversations, but it's how uncomfortable you feel about them. That just, it's a literacy piece.
Yeah.
I don't feel like we've learned how to talk about it, therefore we feel uncomfortable with it, or shame has been projected onto it. Like shame is always an inherited emotion.
Yeah.
We learn what is shameful and we carry it with us. But you can say, actually, I don't want to inherit that, and I'm going to pass it back to you and learn my own way of feeling and being with this. So I am kind of passionate about women and kind of sexual pleasure, but also just sexual literacy and being able to talk about it.
Yeah.
I think that because somebody said to me the other day that they feel really comfortable talking to their like friends about it, but not their partner.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yes. And I think it comes down to kind of like Sex and the City. I think our generation kind of grew up watching that, and they all would talk amongst their friends, and I think that opened up the kind of narrative.
Yeah.
But it still can be quite closed in certain areas, and I think Irish culture has kind of shut it down a little bit. So it will be one of the topics I do enjoy talking about.
Yeah. It's something I definitely notice with, like, I suppose there's some women who talk to their friends, but they feel they can't get too vulnerable sometimes either. So I suppose there's different, there's groups of friends that talk about sex, and there's groups of friends that absolutely don't. And I'm sure you do too. I see people from all different kinds of situations where it comes to shame and talking about it. But sometimes what I find, say for example, when I'm working with women who have like vaginismus or like some sexual difficulty, maybe they have pain during penetration, whatever it is, that kind of stuff, I might be the first person they're actually talking to about that. And I would say, do you feel you can talk to your friends about sex? And they might say, yeah, but not to that extent. Like they still feel shame around sharing something that they're having an issue with.
Yes. I do agree with that. I think we're happy kind of sharing the positive and the fun stories.
Yeah.
But it's
the
vulnerable.
Great. Yeah.
It can be, which understandably, so to share something vulnerable can be scary. But I think kind of the roots of vulnerability around sex, especially within women, I think because we get an awful lot of projected onto us as women.
Oh, definitely.
You have to be good at it. You got to put up with things. And therefore, I think you down-regulate kind of your own needs and even kind of senses of, I've heard many people say to me, well, what's the point talking about it? It's not going to change anything. And I'm like, okay, well, let's just try. And then afterwards they're like, oh, well, yeah, I do feel a bit lighter and nothing has actually changed, but I feel more capable now.
Yeah.
So it is important to talk about a range of things. But I definitely think if you're not struggling, but if you have a vulnerability around sex, not to keep it quiet, to find somebody that you do trust to talk to about it.
I agree. It's so important. And, you know, if you do tell someone and you don't get the empathy or whatever you were hoping for, that's not on you. You know, that's probably, again, their discomfort or their, you know, just maybe inability or their own shame coming forward.
Absolutely.
Right?
Triggering other people.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's really interesting. And it's just something that I've noticed a lot of the kind of, even in the media in Ireland, like, I suppose sex went from not being talked about at all or being talked about in a really like religious laden, maybe a bit negative way. And we do now have more like, I suppose, sexy conversations, for want of a better word. Talk about, you know, the positives, like the Sex and the City style, the sex toys, all of that stuff, which is great. There's space for all that. I love it. But I think we still have a bit of a way to go when it comes to, like, because there's still so many people, I'm sure, again, you see this all the time, but so many people passing through my work that have never talked about their sexual difficulty, feel like they're the only one experiencing it, feel so isolated. So, like, that's a cultural thing.
Absolutely. Like, I do psychometric tests for all the women that I work with coming to the program and test for all different areas. And it's so interesting to me to see the correlations between kind of like almost like comorbidity kind of pieces. So like where somebody may be struggling with communication, usually their satisfaction in sex is also lower.
Okay.
So it's kind of like,
sense.
okay, well, if we can work around the communication, then are we going to let's see if it will influence then how sex comes up. So I find all those kind of really interesting that usually it's not just the sex.
No, it's not.
Tied to lots of other things.
Absolutely. An issue in the bedroom doesn't just like literally pop out of nowhere. It's influenced by everything happening outside of the bedroom as well. Okay, I'll put you on the spot now. As a psychotherapist, in your opinion, just your opinion, what do you think, we might do men and women separately a bit, okay? We might start with men for a second. What do you think the one thing that men get wrong about sex the most?
Oh, interesting. What turns women on?
Okay.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
I think they again compartmentalize to the bedroom and kind of like doing.
I'm already like,
doing things in the bedroom. And I think men misunderstand as well that for women, for themselves, it's very physical. They physically see like something sexy and they're like, I'm turned on. Yeah. But women are psychological. Absolutely. I think the drivers around like even the rise of kind of the ACTAR books and like fairy smut, I think it's because it puts a sense of like a lag result of the sexual desire and tension building and the story and the sense of safety and empowerment and the woman feeling sexy. And I think men just skip over all that and they're like, smack on the ass, let's get in. And they miss that bit. And I think lots of women want to feel desired over a long period of time, not just when it's bedtime. I think throughout the day, grabbing your, like, if they're up for it, having a big kiss and walking away. Yeah. Do the kind of slow build burning, kind of like making them seen throughout the day. And not in a way of kind of like, I see you because I want to have sex. I just see you and I desire you and I think you're sexy, but I don't want to go straight to sex. Yeah. You know, I want to flirt with you, go through all those kind of like, almost like simmering at times. So yeah, I think that's the common one for men, that they use their own lens, which absolutely I understand because when we're trying to understand a topic, we'll often view it from our own perspective and not the person who is opposite us. So I think that's where men can get caught sometimes. But it's so interesting because as soon as I talk about this topic in therapy with men, they're like, teach me, teach me. And it tells me that they do want to understand and they get like, I've had men come back and they're like, it worked and we're like having so much more fun and like she's like, what's happened? So like men do really love to, I think especially men who are in therapy, they want to grow, they want to develop. And it's so interesting then that as soon as that topic comes up, they're like, oh, this is a possible thing that we can talk about. This is something I can understand. Let's go. And they can go really, really deep into it then. It's quite interesting.
That is really interesting. And I suppose it's for the man, again, obviously, if he's in a relationship with a woman, to ask
what she needs outside of the bedroom, like what makes her feel seen or what makes her feel appreciated or desired,
Absolutely.
all of those things.
Yeah.
So again, comes back to communication again,
Yeah.
probably a lot.
Yeah.
But
And I think that then from the female perspective, this, like, I think it's like an online trend of he should just know drives me insane.
he should just know.
He should just know.
Okay.
You're like, he knows me long enough, he should just know. I'm kind of like,
mm.
do you just know what's inside his head at
Yeah.
all times? It's not a fair projection to put on. And I think it leaves an awful lot of grey zone then where he's trying to fill in the blanks and he could get it wrong.
Yeah, of course.
And it's very scary to be trying something and be berated in your trying,
Oh,
being
yeah,
judged in
yeah,
your
yeah.
trying. So I think as women, we kind of, I know it's vulnerable to communicate, especially around sex. And sometimes as women as well, I think there's a new wave of kind of like pleasure, but we don't quite know it yet. I don't feel like we've had generations before us kind of teaching us about pleasure. So we're finding our way with it. So to communicate when you're confused yourself can be hard. And I think then as well, women, understandably so, I have done it myself, we use the male gaze as sexual desire.
Yes.
So like that kind of like, again, leaving it all to the bedroom and not doing any work beforehand. And then I know I was speaking to you before about kind of the like wearing the saucy underwear piece.
Yes.
But you're wearing saucy underwear that your partner desires, not you. And again, women are quite psychological. I feel like women need to desire themselves in order to be feeling sexy.
Yeah.
Like I think if you feel sexy yourself versus your partner telling you you're sexy, one lasts a bit longer.
Yeah. And the best thing is probably when both happen.
Yeah.
Like as in when you feel good in yourself and your partner is like expressing that desire for you. And then because you can believe them more then.
Yeah. Because I think that's one thing that men say to a lot to me in therapy is that like they love their partners. They find their partners so sexy. But like she's lacking in confidence. I just want to see her be confident. I'm trying to big her up and she's going, oh God, don't look at me. Can we turn the lights off? And he's like, I want her to be confident. I want her to feel sexy. How do I make that happen? And I'm like, there's only so much you can do. It has to happen on the other side too.
Yeah.
So for if any women are kind of wondering kind of like, oh, I need to be sexy for my partner, actually being sexy for yourself will in turn bring the confidence that maybe you're seeking.
Yeah. And it's figuring out what being sexy for yourself, what does that feel like or look like as well? Because I feel for me that has changed over the years where, again, for me, maybe it used to be through that very male gazy, like early noughties lens of like not having one single hair in your body, being, you had to have fake tan, you had to, you know, it was very like almost lad mag,
absolutely
glam, which, you know, that's fine, but
boobs
it's
pushed up to your chin.
Yeah, but it's not, you can't be, well, maybe you can, but I don't have time to be making all that happen like regularly. And like that limits me then. Okay, so if I can only feel sexy when I'm like, look like that, sure, that's like, so I kind of tried to expand. Well, no, Grace, like you can be sexy when you haven't shaved your legs in a week. Like it's grand. Like, I, you know, just really trying to break out of this really narrow mold I think I set for myself.
Well, I think it's that mind reading. Like my legs are hairy. He's going to feel them. He's going to be disgusted.
Yeah.
And we're projecting that thought onto our partners and then it's bouncing back at us and we're kind of about ourselves then.
Yeah.
But we don't even know if that's true.
Exactly. So then circling back, what do you think is the main thing women might get wrong when it comes to sex? I'm simplifying the language here, obviously, but
I think it is that an awful lot of what we've seen, and I do think it's changing, an awful lot of what we've seen about kind of like what is sexy and what is all of that comes from porn and the male perspective. But I think like from speaking to men in therapy and stuff like that, an awful lot of them just want you to be yourself, be present, know that you're enjoying it. For an awful lot of men, that's the biggest turn on is like knowing that you're enjoying it. And I think the kind of, and we spoke about before, like the noises even kind of like, I think we come away from like, well, what is mine? And what way do I want to be within sex instead of kind of projecting what I think it should be in order to please my partner.
Yeah.
And then your partner is focused on you and then you end just going around in psychological kind of circles chasing each other.
Yeah. Because it can get quite performative if you're looking at it through that lens.
Absolutely.
You know, because something I come across is where men want their partners to be into it and they really want them to enjoy it. But there is a section of those men who, again, the fact that she's enjoying it is more for them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then the women, sometimes I'm working with, are like, I feel like I have to be screaming and shouting and making a whole show for him. So does he really care about my pleasure, or does he just care about the performance of my pleasure?
Yeah.
And there is a difference, I suppose.
Absolutely. But I don't think men know.
No.
Because that's what they're used to seeing. They're kind of like, oh, she's having a great time.
Yeah, exactly. And that, I suppose that's, again, the importance of, were we talking, I can't remember, I'm sure I talked on the podcast before about faking orgasms and stuff. To just try not to, because it's just, there's nowhere good that's really going to lead.
Absolutely. And I actually think that's something as well, both from male and female, as to like, what is intimacy? Doesn't have to be sex.
Yeah.
Do you know, like there's lots of other things that, like, you can get into bed and be like, we just cuddle for a little while. That's intimate. Can we just like have a little feel, a little bit of masturbation, you know, and that can be intimacy. Like, I think it's something I was speaking to somebody about the other day, was about like, you don't have to either come. Like, you know, you can just have a nice time.
Yeah.
And it's more about being connected, because this person was very tired, very stressed. And she was saying like, I don't think I even have the energy. And then it just feels like pressure. And I was like, well, why do you have to come?
Yeah.
I said, if you don't want to come, you don't have to come.
Yeah.
And she was like, but isn't it then like we're like not having sex? I was like, well, who says? You know? So it's not like, I think it comes down to kind of back to that kind of porn thing of like, the porn video ends when somebody comes, you know?
Yeah.
And it doesn't always, that's actually not reflective of, well, it can if you want it to be, but it's what you want it to be. I think, again, it's that communication piece of like getting into bed, kind of like, can we see where this goes? No pressure to come, you know, just wherever it goes.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer that when it comes to sex, there's always more to learn and always more to explore. And that's why we have weekly bonus content of the G-Spot available when you sign up to Head Stuff Plus. So that is double the episodes. And not only do you get all of that, but you also get access to all the bonus content of the other Head Stuff podcasts. You get ad-free listening, and it's an amazing way to support my work, which I really, really do appreciate. You get all of this for just €5 plus VAT per month, and you can sign up by going to headstuffpodcast.com. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of the episode.
This show is part of Headstuff Podcasts. Here's another show you might like.
Hello, we're Shite Talk, an Irish history podcast.
The #1 Irish history comedy podcast in Ireland, hosted by Kevin Larney and Jason Brennan, two young comedians.
You might remember us from such episodes as The Time an Irishman Stole the British Crown Jewels.
We've done episodes about future President Bertie Ahern.
Future President John Delaney.
And the history of the Orange Order, why all the boys love marching on the 12th.
Our new season is going to be on Head Stuff, where we're going to be talking about things like Riverdance,
Van Morrison,
the time Muhammad Ali fought in Croke Park,
and finally getting to the bottom of what was the crack with Eamon de Valera.
and Michael Collins.
We've got new episodes out every Monday with bonus content every Thursday, wherever you're listening to this podcast.
Your burger is served, and this is our finest Pepsi Zero Sugar. Its sweet profile perfectly balances the savory notes of your burger.
That is one perfect combination. Burgers deserve Pepsi.
Okay, so that might bring us nicely to a dilemma or two, because we had one here that I thought I'm sure you could help with all of them, but you came into my mind. Where is it? Oh, yes. Okay. So, dear Grace Alice, every single time me and my wife talk about sex, it ends up in an argument. Sooner or later, she starts crying, and then I feel like I need to comfort her, and then nothing ever changes. How can we have more effective communication? That's something I see actually a lot of that cycle happening.
Yeah. And it's quite common. You can go to it from a couple of different lenses. I guess the one that comes to mind for me is kind of, there's a communication theory called transaction analysis, which I absolutely love. So transaction analysis means, right, you and me, we're having a conversation, right? We're having a transaction is what it's called. So you and me both have the option of, let's just keep it simple for today, 3 ego states, right? So you can be a parent, an adult, or a child.
Okay.
In your ego state, in your communication style.
Okay.
I can be a parent, adult, and child as well.
Okay.
Right? So it depends on how I start the conversation. So if I'm like, I've had enough of this. We need to sort this out. Sounds quite adult, right? And your body language can give an awful lot away as well. So if you're talking to somebody and you're like looking down upon them, your voice can be quite stern. Maybe you're folding your hands and stuff like that. So that would be the parent, right? It can go to critical parent or nurturing parent, which it sounds like is what's happening here. So maybe he could perhaps be starting in parent, or what happens is the parent magnetizes to the child. So I'm going to provoke the child out of you.
Okay.
Right. So she then go into this kind of like child state of kind of, I can't do this. Oh my God, this is so overwhelming. I feel attacked. And then what could happen is she goes into what we call compliant child, which could be like, just make this end.
Okay.
I don't want this. Please just stop. So then he flips instead into nurturing parent and he's like, I'm going to save you.
Yeah,
it's okay. Leave it go. But then what happens is when we constantly have that dynamic over and over again, nothing ever actually gets solved.
Yeah.
So the best way to go about it is there's a couple of different ways. I would, first of all, when it's not an issue, so not when you're having sex, not just after sex, take it away from the table and wait until you actually have time to sit down and like neither of you in the middle of like cooking dinner or anything like that and say, I would first of all disarm her, right? And say, can I speak to you about something that's really important to me? I want to talk about this because I really love you. And this is an issue that I want us to work through together. I want to support you with this. And I'd love for us to come together on it. No pun intended.
Absolutely.
And then talk about, I have noticed whenever we have this conversation, you end up getting upset. I really don't want this to feel like I'm like attacking you. I want to support you. So can you tell me what happens for you when we have these conversations? So not about the sex, about the conversation. You know, is there anything I can do that would make this conversation easier for you? Is there anything you'd like me to understand about sex? So you're almost offering the feedback towards you first as opposed to telling somebody. And then I would stick to one thing. Don't bring in like kind of like, and then there's this issue with sex, there's this issue, there's this issue. Go to lots of like different areas will really overwhelm somebody and then they'll feel attacked and they'll shut down. Pick one. So maybe just start with this conversation. I've noticed when we have this conversation, it's really hard for you. Is there anything I could do that would make it easier for you? Is there anything you need me to know? Is there anything I can do? Like maybe we could go for a walk while we're having this conversation. I'm going to let you know that I'm going to respond in this way. So if you do tell me something, I'm going to stay calm. I'm going to listen. I'm probably going to maybe ask you some questions to ensure that I'm hearing you correctly, because sometimes that can be an issue where somebody says something but they're misunderstood and then they just feel like, what's the point of me having this? So it's very important that like I understand you, so I may ask you some questions just purely so I understand. And that he stays really calm, because if she's going into crying and kind of shut down, this would be kind of an issue. Like an awful lot of women fear, and men fear conflict. And it can shut down really quickly. So to come to it from that point of view and maybe set kind of check-in times and come up with like a plan together moving forward. So it doesn't just kind of dissolve and disappear straight away.
Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic advice. And I definitely, especially on that part of the check-in times, I'm such an advocate for that, because otherwise we get caught in the cycle of we're both thinking about it. And that's the thing. If there isn't, we don't know what the issue with sex is. Like we don't have the context. But if there is something going on related to sex that is bothering us, like both people are usually aware of it. Like it can usually feel like an elephant in the room, right? But then we don't talk about it. And then, you know, when a conversation does happen, there's been so much building up over possibly weeks. So that then, Joe, with her, I'm like, is the dam just breaking then? Is it like she's thinking about this probably or worrying about this? And then I don't know what way he's approaching it, but like, it's you know, causing this kind of, I mean, there's nothing wrong with crying as well, but that, you know.
It's being held and then exploding kind of. I wonder if there's other aspects as well maybe going on for her that she's unhappy with in the relationship. And maybe if he came to it from that standpoint, instead of going straight to sex, again, looking at sex as the symptom as opposed to sex being the issue.
I agree.
Maybe just say kind of like, you know, can I sit down and ask you, how are you?
Is
there anything I can do to support you? Is there anything I can do to help you? I would just love for us to be united as a team and take it, don't even talk about sex for the first conversation maybe, and just see if you can figure out if there's something going on that maybe you're not aware of. Again, that opens up the conversation, not on kind of a point where she's hypersensitive to. Instead, it's kind of like, okay, we're not going for the thing that always causes me to be so upset. We're talking about a different topic. Maybe I can start by talking about this, see that he listens to me, see that there's change, goes forward, and then build confidence in the communication style then going forward.
Yeah, that building confidence is so important, and that trust that, you know, we won't let this slide again into not talking about it for weeks. Like really, I suppose holding each other a bit accountable in a gentle way of let's talk about this regularly. And again, not just talking about sex, like, because what I notice, I suppose, is the way a lot of people I work with, the way they're approaching these conversations is what's going on with you and how do we fix it? Like, it's so kind of straight to the, I need this information and what do we do about it?
Yes.
And that she mightn't even, if that's what he's at, she mightn't even know that.
Yeah.
She mightn't even know why she's experiencing whatever it is. So if you're talking more regularly and having lots of small chats, I think, as you said, you build more confidence and comfort in just talking about your relationship and intimacy and sex, like as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rather than just when there's an issue.
Yeah.
And then,
sorry, go on.
No, and then shame just can creep in. I'm thinking there of the crying. Sometimes I know when I'm crying, it's because there's some like shame response bubbling up.
Self-judgment within it. I think what you just reminded me of there was research done around kind of like stress and how the difference between kind of like men and women respond to it. And it looked at how men become very solution focused.
Yes.
Let's find a solution to this, and how women become very kind of like comfort focused. So avoiding, procrastinating, self-sabotage, it's all comfort.
Interesting.
And they're not saying that one or the other is better than the other.
Yeah.
But it's basically just saying like solution focus is also kind of avoidant of the emotional aspect.
Yeah.
And then the comfort is avoidant of the action taking aspect, which also brings comfort. So it's important that you have a blend of both. So not to rush in with solutions, instead kind of like, how do we feel about this? What's our thought process around it? And then what can we do together to bring this into a place that we both desire it to be?
That's so true. Is there anything to be said for, again, we've no context of what's really going on here, right? But like, sometimes I'll work with women who, they say, you know, every time we try and broach it, I start crying. And I kind of sometimes say, okay.
Yeah.
Does that mean the conversation has to stop? Not necessarily. It kind of depends on the person and how upset they are. Because just for me personally, sometimes I will cry and I actually don't want to be coddled and comforted. I just need to get it out for a few minutes. And then there's a bit of a release and I can say, something in me just breaks through to a place that's a bit more honest and vulnerable actually after I have a cry. And I can kind of say, do you know what? This is actually what I'm feeling. Whereas I know other people, when they start crying, they might want that comfort instantly. So sometimes it might be okay for one person to cry a little, and that doesn't mean everything has to come to a screeching halt and we need to abandon.
I think it depends on, like, we obviously don't know context and experience in the background. So it could be a triggering topic that brings up, if she grew up in a household that conflict was dangerous. It could be that, like, this is terrifying.
Yeah.
But I do think you're right. Like, that's something I'm so passionate about, because so many women have asked me that question of like, you know, if I'm having an argument, how do I stop crying? I'm like, why would you stop? Why? Like, you're having the disagreement due to an emotional response to something. So why would you shut it out? That's the reason it's happening. It doesn't devalue what you're saying. If anything, it makes it more prominent and more valuable because like this, I am upset. I feel about what we're talking about. And I think the reason we've learned to kind of shut out our emotions in conflict and kind of disagreements is because the person opposite us isn't comfortable with their emotions.
Yeah.
And therefore, we're kind of appeasing the person opposite us. If you can't handle my emotions, that you need to go do work upon yourself.
Yeah.
As long as I'm not being aggressive.
Yes.
But crying and maybe being passionate about something, that's okay to be. Doesn't mean that the conversation has to end or that you're devalued in what you're saying.
No, that's so true. And something I've heard now and then is, and now I think this, to be honest, strays into something that feels a bit more manipulative or something that feels more just not okay, where if you have one partner that does tend to get more visibly emotional or cries, or even just, God forbid, has an emotion, you have the other partner saying, you know, well, you're an adult, you need to cope with your own emotions. And sometimes I think that strays into, okay, there's a sprinkling of truth in that like, you know, if I get angry now, I can't just hit you, right? I'm an adult. There'll be consequences for that. That's not good.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like if I'm in a loving relationship with someone, they have to be conscious of my emotions and care about them and not just be like, no, that's your mess to deal with. Come to me when you're calm. Because we have this thing where women are seen as irrational and emotional and, you know, which I don't like.
No.
When it's used that way.
No. Because you don't ever say, I personally love for the laugh sometimes saying like, oh my God, it must be his hormones. He's being so dramatic. Because like we don't ever say it to men.
I know.
You know, and it's like, it is so true, but we put it as a kind of a shutdown for women.
Yeah.
And I think again, men sometimes need very clear frameworks in those moments of kind of like, if your partner is being emotional, so like one that I love and I love to teach and put out there is a really simple one called comfort or solution. So if you're opposite me and you're crying and I'm really uncomfortable with this and I don't know how to cope with it, to say, well, what do you need right now? Do you need comfort or a solution? And you're very clearly telling me exactly what you need. So you could go, I need a solution. Okay, what does a solution look like for you right now? The house is a feckin' kip and it's on me. I need you to like empty the dishwasher. I need you to hoover. And it's like, okay, I can do that for you. Will that help you with your emotions? Yes. It's like, okay, no, I need comfort. Okay, what does comfort look like to you? Because what's comfort to me be very different to you.
Yeah.
And I think that's where an awful lot of friction can come in relationships where men are like, I am trying. Or the other way around. And she's like, I am trying.
Yeah.
But it's not the trying that person needs.
Yes.
So it's such a simple way of like, do you need comfort or a solution? And then take it then from there.
I love that because it's like, you know, when you're talking to a friend and I always say, you know, do you want advice or do you just want an ear? Do you want to just vent? And with those friends that you really click with and vibe with, they're able to tell you. And that's the comfort thing as well of just having that, just knowing that person can hold that, you know?
Absolutely.
If we were able to have these conversations like from such a young age, can you imagine like the health of our relationships?
Yeah.
Like, be amazing.
It is. I have a 7-year-old and it is both the best thing and the worst thing in the world. She's got two of us who have done an awful lot of work upon ourselves. And sometimes we're like, oh no, now you're too good at communicating. And like,
you're out communicating me.
But she's done really well. There was a substitute teacher in her school, and this teacher shouted at some of the kids, and our daughter came home quite upset. And she was like, I was like, well, look, if it wasn't done to you, you can't kind of really get involved. The other parents are talking about it, so leave them to it. I said, if it happens to you, you know what to do. Come home and tell us. And the teacher shouted at her and Sophia started crying and she came home and she said, the teacher shouted at me today in school. I started crying and the teacher then said, well, what's wrong with you? And she said, well, you're an adult. You're a lot bigger than me. You shouted at me. It scared me. So now you can talk to my mum and dad. I was like, oh, mic drop. The teacher the next day apologized to her, made her student of the week.
In her boots.
Came out and apologized to us. And I was like, I actually have nothing to add.
But
I was like, she did so well.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. You're an adult. Yeah. Oh my God.
I know.
That is so impressive. Like that's just given me such a good feeling because like she's just even at 7.
Yes.
Like navigating the world.
Absolutely.
In such a more solid, informed, like, and I hate the overuse of the word empowered, but that actually is very empowered way to be at 7.
Yeah, because we also put on that song, the My Body, My Future. Do you know that song?
No.
I sent it to you after, brilliant song. But like we've been singing that from like a young age.
Okay.
And every now and again she'll just go, it's my body and it's my future and I'm not cleaning my room by using my body to do it. I'm like, shit.
Oh my God. No, she's too clever. Too clever. Yeah, I remember my mom was given some advice when I was quite young now, probably like 3 or 4. And she was told, next time I was doing something bold to say, Grace, I'd prefer if you didn't do that. I'd prefer if you didn't do that. And she said she tried it. And I literally just said, I'd prefer if I did. And that was it. She was like, okay, that's that.
That's the end of that one.
Yeah, just like, not going to work. Okay, so we might finish off on another little dilemma. I think this is kind of a suppose a lighter one. Dear Grace Alice, I'm in my mid-30s and want to know what are people doing with their lady gardens? So this is pubic hair, obviously we're talking about, just to put it out there. I want it tidy, but struggle to find a razor, etc. that doesn't irritate me. Too embarrassed to ask my friends help. So there you are now.
Brilliant question. And I think it's such a good one because I think we go through trends with pubic hair as well.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know what everybody is doing with their pubic hair.
I don't know either.
But I do think it's about finding what works for you. Because like I went through a stage of kind of like, obviously I think nearly everyone went through a stage of like the Hollywood thing. And then, but then I'm kind of like, oh, what does that actually, that's kind of infantilizing. Do you know, I was kind of like, oh, I don't know how I feel about that either. But I do sensory wise, like a bit of tidiness.
Yeah.
So laser, just calm it all down, but not totally remove it.
Yeah.
That's the vibe I'm going for.
I have a friend who like is just very much, now to be fair, she's very much do what you will with your body, but she's always been against the whole completely bald thing.
Yeah.
She's like, that's like first communion, Fanny. I don't want a first communion, Fanny. I want to look like an adult. Yeah. I just found like that term was like, oh my good God, first communion.
But it is so true.
It is kind of like, I get where that argument comes from. Like I do, when you really think about it and where that trend has come from and everything. But to be fair, sensory wise as well, I relate. Like I like to so for some people, like I believe each hair is actually connected to a nerve ending, or there's certainly a physical link between our hair and our nerve endings. So for some people, actually having like pubic hair actually adds to pleasure. Yeah. For me, I just love the feel, again, not all of it, but like even the touch like of a finger or a hand like against skin, you know, there like feels so good because it's such a sensitive area.
Yes.
So that would be something just that I find is that it's not even for me about much what it looks like anymore. It's more like what feels comfortable. Razors, I know I have that, like when I shave I get so itchy. That's what she said, it irritates her. I find Estridge, do you ever see that brand?
No.
They do loads of marketing on Instagram. They're actually really good razors. Come from Sweden or somewhere, but they're not very expensive. They're really sharp, but they're apparently really good quality. So like probably do have to spend a little bit more if you want to shave and it's like irritating you.
Yeah.
I imagine. Laser is a good shout.
Yeah. I think it's the halfway road then, like don't go all in on laser if you're unsure.
Yeah.
You still have some wiggle room then, so it calms it down for a little while. Maybe the regrowth calms down.
Yeah.
And then I think it definitely does help with ingrown hairs and stuff as well.
It does. And it can't, like, laser isn't permanent hair removal. Like, it reduces it, but I only know too well it can grow back. Just ask my chin and what I'm going through at the moment with that. Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's funny how much pubic hair comes up in. Still to this day, we are so fascinated by pubes and what people are doing with them. We've talked about them twice now.
I was just about to say, I feel like it's going to be the theme of mine.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've talked about it in another episode as well. Like, I was reading, not an article, but I saw a headline the last day that was like, the bush is back, it's officially back. And I'm like, okay, like it's hard to get excited anymore because anytime something is back, it's going to be gone again in a few years.
I think it's just a trend.
It is, and you just have to do you.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think that otherwise we try to force ourselves into feeling things that we don't feel.
No, absolutely. As a parent, as well as a psychotherapist, now I feel like you've already done so much groundwork for this, but when your kids get into, like, say, their teen years and as young adults, as they grow up, what messages about sex do you want them to receive that, say, you didn't? You know, what are the key pieces that you would like them to know about?
Even just an openness, like you can ask questions.
Yeah.
And there's no shame, there's no judgment around it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm very much about like have your kids grow with the knowledge at an age appropriate rate. So like my two now know all about kind of like body anatomy, but also periods. And I'm very kind of like, I'm not just teaching my girl that, my boy knows all about periods now. Because I'm like, you need to know this too. It's very important. So I think once you can grow with the knowledge and then knowing that they can keep coming back and asking this and it's not a taboo topic, they're not going to be judged, there's no shame around it. I think that's quite important. I also think it's quite important to know that, like, I think it's a hard one, is that kind of like porn is not real.
Yeah.
And I know there's a big movement around kind of like real porn, which I think is fantastic. But I know, like, I have a friend who's a teacher, and she's spoken an awful lot to me about kind of how like porn is being shown to each other in school on phones. And she's like, she was like, she doesn't have kids, and she was like, oh my God, like, good luck.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no. So I think knowing that's not real, and that's often really as well not pleasurable, that type of sex.
Yeah.
And kind of trying to find kind of what is, and also you're entitled to your pleasure.
Yes.
I think is so important.
Yeah. But like now I kind of feel the need to even clarify that, like, okay, porn sex isn't real, but like the people on screen are real people. Because what I think is there's this real, I mean, what's new, kind of misogynistic trend towards, you know, if someone is a sex worker, if someone is on OnlyFans or whatever, that like, well, they're asking for trouble, or like they're seen as a just a lesser valued woman.
Absolutely.
So when I say that now, I kind of have to be careful, because I'm like, I don't want to give off the impression that, oh, well, it's fine for Stacey in this porn video to be getting choked or whatever it is, because it's not real. But it is. Like, she's a real person. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
like,
there's not just like one-dimensional character.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I do think that there's a shift happening with that a little bit in, I can't remember what her name is. Is it Rebecca something? She's on TikTok. She's a big OnlyFans person.
Right, okay.
And she went on to a podcast with 3 men. And did you see it? And
I didn't see it, but I know what,
They just proceeded to bully her. And she walked off, and they were like, she's making a big deal out of this. We weren't bullying it. And they were. But the rallying that came from behind her was amazing, of people saying, no, like, this is not okay to treat anybody like this.
Yeah.
And to degrade her just because she's on OnlyFans. And I think I definitely saw a huge rush of women to defend her. Not so much men. No.
Shocked by that.
Yeah. How surprising.
I suppose in women we see ourselves in other women, and we see that whether you're, you know, you've had sex with one person or you're an OnlyFans girl, you've probably still been judged in some way for your sexuality. We probably see that, you know, in her. So I hope she gets whatever's happening with that, you know. I like why invite someone on? Like, imagine me inviting you on and taking up your time and then just like belittling you or shaming
I think
you.
they lack so much self-worth they didn't even realize that that's what they were doing, which is more alarming. But I do think that I do feel, because I have spoken to some men about it as well, about their fears of speaking up and doing it wrong. And then I've even heard people say about like Justin Baldoni, that he's not real. And he's doing it for clout, and that he's doing it to be like the nice guy. So like, there's no winning, you know. And so I do feel like there's this hesitation of men because they're scared, because they don't know how to do it, and they're scared that if they do it, it's going to be disingenuine.
Okay.
So I do understand the male perspective too, but I don't think that's a reason to not.
No. 100%. Okay, stunning. Thank you so much, Jean.
I love that. Thank you.
That was great.
This show is part of the Head Stuff Podcast Network, a hub for the creative and the curious. Shows are produced in association with Head Stuff and the Podcast Studios Dublin. Find out more or become a member at headstuffpodcasts.com.